It would just be Muslim Charlie. You can just be Muslim Charlie.
Muslim Charlie. The problem is with that one, it's like you're not going to be able to explain it, and people are going to just assume that it's like the worst
in some way. Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything.
In the first aeon, I was the Great Spirit. In the second aeon, men knew me as the Horned God, Pangenitor, Panphage. In the third aeon, I was the Dark One, the Devil. In the fourth aeon, men knew me not, for I am the Hidden One. In the fifth aeon, I appeared before you as Baphomet, the God before all gods who shall endure to the end of the earth. In this new aeon, I appear to you as CMN.
Imagine that there is a brilliant white light just above.
Is commentary on the magic art.
In the years of the primal force and the dawn of terrestrial birth.
Oh, that was very educational.
Now magic will take place. Don't be fooled by what I just said.
Welcome everyone. I am Shoot My Shot Kennedy, and this is Chaos Magic News, the objectively best occult podcast on the net today. Joining me, as always, is my 16-bit co-host, Super Iran Contra. How are you, Contra?
Honestly, I prefer the other one, though.
That was a stretch. Would you prefer to be Muslim, Charlie? What? Take your pick, because I have to edit one of them out now.
They're both all... No. To unlock the secret hidden level of this episode, it's just up, up, down, down, left, right, BA, select, start. There we go. That's a joke. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm really good, in fact, because we have yet another wonderful, wonderful guest this episode.
Who? Me?
Drudged up from the depths of the Discord, like always.
We have RebelSandpaper joining us.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
You doing good?
I'm doing pretty okay. It's been a chill day today. No complaints.
Well, it's like an ungodly hour over there, right?
It's like 10:30 in the evening. It's all good. I am a night owl, so.
You see, we're old. We're trying to go to bed at that time.
Yeah, 10:30 comes and I'm like, time to sit down with my grimoire and have a cup of cocoa, get some sleep.
Just fall asleep pondering my orb. And there you go. There we go. All right, what do we got for this week?
We got a bit of everything, honestly. This is even though we have a guest, this is a very back to basics episode for CMN. To start with, I wanted to bring up to you two something that I discovered. This was almost a banish with laughter segment, but I don't think it quite reaches the level of mockery, but it's something to talk about at least. I don't have their name written down. Crap. Editing that in, future Kennedy. But I found this person on Instagram, the typical way I do. I'm trying to post something and then, ADHD brain, I'm going to go ahead and watch a video that popped up right in front of me because why not? But they're an occult content creator and they do a lot of things, but I saw them do a series of little, TikTok-y type videos on red flags in paganism and witchcraft. And it's the exact sort of stuff you expect to see.
If they're inviting you into the woods late of the night with a blindfold.
Okay, not quite that level.
Oh, if they tell you to read Aleister Crowley, if they mispronounce it as Crowley.
Also, no, see, these are funnier. I would have laughed at these. I didn't really laugh so much at any of these. The one that I think stuck out in my head most was like, oh, yes, I'm learning to be a shaman, and that will allow me to feel special and deal with my narcissism because I'm a super special spiritual person. Oh, you're also doing that? Like that sort of shtick.
Yeah.
Oh, if somebody's playing like a one-upsman game with you about their spirituality.
Yeah, like that sort of thing.
Anybody who describes themselves as a shaman, I honestly would take as probably a little bit of a red flag.
Well, hang on. We'll get to your red flags in a minute.
Your name, listen here, Hank. I'm sorry, but something tells me, just hate to be like this, I don't think Massachusetts needs another shaman. I think one is probably enough.
It's fine enough content. It's not for me, really. That's sort of, I think the thing that keeps it from being pushed over into a vanish with laughter is that it's like, I fully understand this is not really content for me. This is content for, admittedly, probably younger people and people that are in the specifically sort of hippie adjacent, witchcrafty sort of areas, and I'm definitely not that.
The witch and wook.
Yeah, witch and wook. Yeah,
it's gonna be. I'm gonna start a metaphysical store, and I'm gonna name it Witch and Wook. They're gonna love it. It's gonna be.
Oh my god,
be rich.
But it definitely sounds more like geared towards people who are, in that sort of new agey, adjacent hippie witchcraft side of things.
Yeah, and as an occult person online, of course, I think all of us get that kind of crossover somewhere. Somewhere where you're going to start talking to like a patchouli smelling person that's going to tell you that seed oils are really bad, and you nod and you try to get out of that grocery store.
Never going to this Whole Foods again.
But as spooky people, we kind of get a bit of that, but it's not really content for me. I'm sure these are things that make a whole lot of sense for those people, but it did kind of give me pause to think about what a red flag for me is, and then I was trying to think of like what are like red flags in like chaos magic.
Ooh.
So I thought I'd ask the two smartest people that I had on the podcast with me today.
Interesting.
So Reb and who else?
What character do you have this week that we can pull out?
Muslim Charlie.
Oh, jeez.
You gotta bleep out every instance of...
you're just forcing me to put that as like the opening stinger as I was talking about Muslim Charlie.
That's either like one of a future It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode or a really old one that's... we don't talk about those.
Oh, man. Oh, Lord help.
The gang sees the light of Allah.
Exactly. The gang goes and watches Dune.
Yes. Oh god. All right. Hang on. Back to the topic at hand. Can either of you think of like an actual like red flag, like something that you hear someone say and you're immediately like, not even just like oh, this person's gonna be a problem or this person is a danger, but even stuff that like you hear it and you instantly go like, all right, well, I'm not having a real conversation with this person about spooky stuff.
Yeah, I don't know so many. The dangerous red flags would be anytime somebody comes in with like a huge spiel about like this big new system that they're working or like how they're doing all this important work and they want to share it with you. When someone comes in and starts like doing the proselytizing thing, even if they don't mean any harm, they're not someone who has your interest at heart. They're somebody who wants to proselytize. That is an actual red flag. Maybe don't go near that person, or definitely don't let them chat your ear off about their shit. Anybody who openly brags about like having killed somebody with magic or like hexed like I hex all these people and I do all, it's like, even if that's true, why are you like, is that really something you just bring up in casual conversation? Not if you're anyone I want to be around. The likelihood of them being legit about that is negligible, but it shows that they're a real edgy SOB and you probably don't want to hang around them.
I think for me, like, especially because I've had interactions like this, it's like people who they do the whole like edgy like spiel using like $5 words, and it's like I can tell you're enthusiastic, but like fucking calm down.
Yeah, act like a human being for a second.
Yeah,
this is Reddit.
It's somebody's like, so you're like interested in the occult? Yeah, I'm like doing this, and I've read this, and I'm like a spooky dark wizard type shit, and it's like I deal with a bunch of like weird kind of dark stuff, but like even I'm like, tone it down, please.
You don't enter the conversation by going like, "Hi, my name's Rebel. I'm a disciple of Lucifer, and I'm going to amenitize the eschaton to bring about the new flesh. Like, you don't open conversations like that. Anyone that does that sort of thing is obviously, I think it's, if not a red flag, in that they don't know what they're talking about, or that they're in danger or something like that. It definitely at least points to a personality type of like, you are someone that I'm not going to be able to have a productive conversation about this sort of stuff with, because you are going to spend most of it discussing very, very dark, edgy fucking nonsense associated with it.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Hank. I'm a servant of the infernal depths.
Oh my God. Yeah, exactly.
Hank's getting around. He was a shaman. Now he's this.
He's trying to discover himself.
I am the great shaman, Massachusetts Hank. Bow before me.
Oh, hold on. My hellhound is going off.
The puppers.
We haven't had a dog interrupt the episode in quite some time. I can put the music in.
She was the most recurring guest of this show for a while. Now, maybe some of the more like less, this person, it might be someone you should really be concerned about. And this is more of like, this is just ways that you can let me know that you're a moron. And yeah, you know what? We'll be nice. We have to couch this in these terms, right? Just because somebody says something like this or they like this doesn't mean that you're absolutely stupid and I don't think you have anything to contribute. It's just as a very general rule of thumb. Most of the people that say stuff like this, I don't want to hear it. Yeah, I know what you're about, and I don't think you're useful. I don't think it's good.
It's a heuristic measure.
Oh, you know what? Real other one. Anybody who places an overemphasis on sex magic. That's always,
that's like the number one.
That's every single branch of the occult. It doesn't matter if it's chaos magic, the layman. Anybody that talks about sex magic as their main focus, or how much they're looking for people to be involved with, and it's like, that's always huge red flag. Just run away from that person. So yeah, those are the ones where I'd say this person might be up to something no good. They might be trying to convert you. They might be an edgy SOB, or they might be trying to diddle you. None of those are good. You don't need it. Get away from that person. But so the more lighthearted, just I think you're a moron ones. Anybody who thinks that the Kabbalion is the cornerstone of Western occultism, anybody who says that, anyone who agrees with that, just I don't think you're worth a damn. You see, like, you get on. And I'm serious that, like, anybody who puts an emphasis, like, they think that the Kabbalion is like, there are some folks that'll be like, oh, well, I found some useful stuff in the Kabbalion. Where, dude? Everything is mental. You're mental.
I was going to say, we read through the 7 Hermetic principles from the Kabbalion on the show before, and I kind of stand by most of what we said there. I think, like, yeah, it's not really terrible in and of itself, but I think anybody that puts like a really heavy emphasis on it as like part of their practice, I think is usually like, I don't need to have this conversation.
I feel like you have to do so much stretching of what that book is telling you to actually get anything applicable, anything you can actually go out and do something with, other than like just doing the Charles Xavier where you're straining your eyes and your head really hard to try to like make your thoughts break reality. And that hasn't worked for me yet. Maybe I'm just not good at it.
Well, like many occult texts, it's a standby in that it is vague enough for you to come up with any ideas you want about it, as opposed to just giving you basic practical things to do. For a long time in occultism, we were not about doing basic practical things, and we're still not.
We just wanted to sound cool. We just wanted to have good quotes we could throw at each other.
Oh, see, that actually gets at something that I was going to throw out in chaos magic. I think anybody that quotes from people like Carol, Sherwin, Phil Hine, as if they're like authoritative, I think those are like immediate red flags of like, I don't really need to talk to you. It's one thing to reference them. I'm not shy about a reference, obviously, but to try to bring this person up as like, well, so-and-so said. Yeah, that instantly just makes me go like, well, I don't give a shit what any of these people think. I'm having a conversation with you.
Have you heard what Carol says about quantum mechanics?
I have, and I never need to hear it again.
That's what I'm saying. They are the foundational members. They are the progenitors. They are worthy of a certain level of respect and accolades for what they have done. But also they say some really stupid stuff that you are not obligated to agree with, especially in the CM circles.
Oh, yeah. Well, we talked about this briefly at one point on the show. I don't remember in reference to what, but Again, there's some pretty wonk stuff in Libra Null. They're talking about the dim mock and shit.
I need to confess something, by the way. I'm a bad chaos magician, maybe, but I've never read Libra Null.
Really?
Nope.
Oh, you know what? What if? Ooh. Okay, Patreon idea. Just hear me out. Get Reb on with us and have Reb read through Libra Null, and we'll talk about it. That way, they're getting fresh eyes on it.
It's a thought.
Would that be good?
That could be a thought.
Oh man,
Sounds
that'd
fun.
be good. Wait, look, I'm
that-
just saying. I can sit there and point out all the times they took something from Castaneda.
And we can
I
learn
think
we can punch the astral body out of our child so we can reincarnate.
I think that the only Peter Carroll I've read is I think it's Peter Carroll who wrote the Apophenian.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only Carroll I've read.
Oh, that's interesting. So you've read some of the later Carol, in fact. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I'm proud of you. Good for you.
See, proof you don't need to be into any of this shit. You don't need to listen to these people. But at any rate, yeah, I think there's, especially, again, it's one thing to reference people. It's another to be like, let me tell you what the smart guy that I like said, and aren't you stupid for having an opinion? Anyone that tries to divorce Magick from politics is probably my number one, I think. Anyone that, when you start talking about magic and when you're talking about politics in like a magical context, that's like my number one. Like, I don't need to talk to you. You're a moron.
And that's, I think, maybe not necessarily in the same breath, but like I suppose it's less like maybe a red flag, but also kind of a pet peeve.
Orange flag?
It's like people, like occult, spooky boo-boo people who basically only reads like occult shit, never like branch out for anything else, like philosophy or literally anything else.
Well, we talked about that a little bit on the S-Rob episode when we had Cios. We talked about the idea of there are people that are, by virtue of their lifestyle, where they might say they have a job where they don't interact with a whole lot of people on a day-to-day, or they don't interact with people in a meaningful way. Like if you say you're a telemarketer or something like that, where you're just reading a script all day, blah, blah, blah. And then you go home and you read your little occult books and you do all this stuff and you do your little woo-woo inside your house, and you don't have any hobbies outside.
Right.
They don't read other books. They don't watch TV. That's sort of when you can really find these people that are just so immersed. And I understand when something's important to you, it's important. I dedicate a lot of time to my woo-woo pursuits, but you need to have something to balance you out. You need to have something that is not just waving a wand around. I mean, you're a great example. You're an artist. You make music. You
gamer.
Unfortunately,
you wrestle bears, right? I might have my notes mixed up. Even stuff like somebody who's like, at least they take time out of their day to play some Helldivers or whatever, and just anything that will get you out and remind you that there's a world beyond like the tomes and squiggle jerkin that they're normally doing. Those people, I mostly just feel bad for them, because it's like, in the same way that anybody who is obsessive, you just kind of feel bad for. You want them to. I just want you to get out the house a little bit more. It's touch grass territory.
I don't remember if it was like said on this podcast like a while ago, but like I think it's like Crowley who was talking about like, as much as you're doing like the magic and the occultism, you need to like have a hobby, do other stuff.
Actually, that's how we got to that conversation, because Crowley wanted you to know. He wanted you to be versed in mathematics and chemistry and to be proficient at one. And Crowley, to his credit, he climbed mountains and stuff like that. He had a very well-rounded education before he went completely bonkers and just did cocaine and heroin all the time. But at least then, heroin and cocaine might constitute a hobby back then, at least.
I mean, it's a little more hobby today, I think.
Well, it's a little more frowned upon as a hobby now.
But yeah, having that sort of spread of like things to do in your life is very important, and it's like complementary to like an occult practice in general. Like people who don't do that are just
yeah.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but
It's
You can tell.
It's okay to
You can
judge.
tell.
It's
They're
fine.
Well, it's like you say, you can tell it's obsessive. It's obsessive behavior.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
you should be able to step back and be a little bit more well-rounded. That's all.
Absolutely.
Got any other ones? I'm trying to think of it. I'm trying to think of anything that like really sticks out at me.
I mean, other than the obvious ones, like anyone that's like an EA quitting person, like it just go somewhere. We don't need to deal with
Well, that's
you.
kind of like scummy edgelord types.
People that are like, who's really great is like Avola.
Anybody who's just like a low-key fashy type, and one of those, I won't be one of these people that says, oh, you shouldn't ever read Avola because he's bad. Like you should read works from people that you find abhorrent and that people you disagree with. You should know, you should be able to well-round yourself in those too, but you just, it takes a certain type of person to do that. Some people will read something like that and they will lose their head.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden,
suddenly they're Muslim Charlie because they read Renee Renan, right? They were a Tradcath before, but now they're Muslim Charlie.
Mom, Dad, I'm Muslim Charlie now. I'm sorry.
But this will kill your brother Hank. I got bad news for you too, Mom. Kareem Ramadan.
That's just the worst, like the worst fucking image of a family. It's like one son is okay. He's like, he converted to Islam. The other one is Massachusetts.
Massachusetts shaman.
The most insufferable Thanksgiving ever.
He used to be Boston Hank. Now he's Massachusetts Hank.
Oh my god.
Now it's time for everyone's favorite part of the show.
That's right. That's where we roll up our sleeves, we take a deep breath, we invoke journalistic excellence, and we ask, what's in the news?
I think he left, Reb.
Yeah, just opacity filter.
Oh, yeah, he's back.
To 0.
He's back.
Dinner's ready.
What is in the news, indeed?
It's one of those situations where it's like there's stuff happening and it's not good, but it's at the time of recording, the Strait of Hormuz is still shut down. Iran threw mines down there. Trump was like, you better not. I'm going to unleash hellfire and fury from above if you do. And then they did it anyway. A lot of cases of the administration saying, we completely wiped these people out. And then it's like, how come they're still shooting missiles at us, boss? What's going on? You're saying that the strait is cleared and that people can go through. There's a lot of weird back and forth about who is actually being allowed through right now. China is supposedly being allowed through. Then there's been cases of U.S. escorted ships that have been attacked. It's a mess. It's a mess, and they've still got a death grip on the area. Word around the water cooler mostly comes down to no one in the administration thought that Iran was actually going to be able to retaliate the way they did, and now we're just caught with their pants down. We're probably heading to boots on the ground, which will just, as I said in the last episode, it'll just be a quagmire that's going to bleed us dry. This is bad territory. It's bad time to be anybody here. I think a lot of us are just feeling an overwhelming sense of anxiety across the globe.
Remember when they said in and out 20-minute adventure? Yeah.
Yeah, real quick war. In and out, 20 minutes. I was saying like, September might be likely but I'm throwing that out. I think it'll be 2028 if we're lucky. By the time this is all said and done, it's not looking good.
Big old clusterfuck.
Yeah. It's just there's very little to be said about it at this point. A lot of this is wait and see.
Yeah, unless we want to just kind of recount the horrors of the war, which I don't think we're not in the business of.
We're not. I would just remind people that war is hell, and once again, if you woke up somewhere that wasn't having bombs dropped on it, be thankful. Be real thankful. Moving on from that, you want some of the darker stuff first?
Yeah, we'll eat our vegetables first, and then we'll get on to funnier ones.
There's a case of some Antifa demonstrators after an incident where an ICE agent was shot. They just basically dragged in a bunch of them and have done them all up on terrorist charges, and they all just got a guilty verdict. So that's setting a pretty bad precedent.
Yeah, that's pretty horrendous.
It's not to be unexpected, and it's also a case of this isn't the final note. In a case like this, a guilty verdict is the start of the argument. I'm not sure that these are going to hold up, certainly not on terrorism charges, but we'll see. The administration's and overall the Republicans' whole disdain for any form of protest has been made apparent over the past 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. The whole history of America, mostly, except when you're raiding the Capitol. But, like you said, they're hypocrites. They know that. They don't care. Yeah. But maybe just like, so keep your head up about that. Like, hopefully there's some appealing that will be able to go on through there. But it does, like I said, it does set a bad precedent of basically you were at the protest and something happened. Now you're a terrorist.
Well,
Yeah.
they're actually, if you look into them, all of these people are kind of committed leftist of some ilk. Not all of them even knew each other before the protest, but because this isn't it's better. It's just it's actually in many ways worse. Overall, it seems that most of these people are like committed leftist, some members of the Socialist Rifle Association or something like that. Makers of zines, readers of zines.
Something I was going to bring up, like one of the few details I do know about this is that one of the people arrested was essentially just arrested because they had like anarchists and like DIY zines in their possession, and that was like enough quote unquote evidence to
call them a terrorist. Yeah.
Them.
Yeah, in fact, Sanchez Estrada was the only defendant not at the protest and was only charged with corruptly concealing a document or record after prosecutors say he moved left-wing zines following the arrest of his wife. So there you go. You moved the zines, and now you're part of Antifa.
Yeah, again, this is one of those things that it's like these are completely trumped up charges, and I have to be an optimist on this and say that this isn't going to stand. It's kind of gross that it got this far, but hopefully none of this stands. It does set diabolical precedents.
I don't know. At this point, I really don't know. It sounds like it's because this was the Supreme Court of Texas, right, that issued this ruling. Yeah. So there you go. It's like, where else is it going to go? The federal level, and then when that happens, you just know that it's going to end badly. Who are you going to count on the Supreme Court to make the right decision there?
Fair point.
It's dangerous times, folks.
2 men charged with terrorism after homemade bombs were thrown at anti-Islam protests in New York. This is the one that happened outside of the mayor's mansion.
All right. And they thought it was an attack on Mamdani originally.
Yeah, and it's very pretty clear. It's 2 teenagers that have probably just been radicalized by a lot of the hell world stuff that's been going on. That doesn't mean that it's okay to go throw bombs at people. I get that, but and then also we couple that with the synagogue shooting that happened in Michigan earlier this week. Much like when we talked about the embassy workers that got shot. So like these aren't okay. The people that ended up being harmed in this are like at least the synagogue shooting and everything else is like, these are people that are not part of the war machine that's causing all of this damage. But the way people get radicalized to commit acts like this, they don't happen in a vacuum. There's a reason that things like this happen. And I can't condone it any more than I condone any of the other horrible stuff that has been going on. But it's that thing of like, you can see how our propping up of Israel, our complete refusal to call a genocide. We've completely destabilized the Middle East again in one of the most unpopular moves of 2 decades as far as ongoing military action. And then stuff like this happens, and there's going to be a certain faction that points a finger and acts like, oh, look, you see how bad these people are? That's why we got to keep bombing the shit out of schools and neighborhoods, That's my issue, is that stuff like this is particularly awful because not only is it a horrible act of violence that just didn't need to happen, but it's just going to be used by the same mouth-breathing idiots that just want to like round up all the Muslims and put them in a camp or throw them out of the country or whatever, aka people like Tuberville
Yeah.
who's saying stuff like the enemy is within the house or whatever the fuck.
Looking at the U.S. as a European, because if you hadn't guessed, I'm European. By the accent.
Well, it's been fun having you on the show.
Oh, I thought you had some kind of speech impediment. I'm sorry.
I mean,
Oh,
no, I'm joking. I'm joking.
No, that's
I'm joking. But no, like looking at the U.S. for like honestly, since the beginning of Trump's first presidency, it has just been like this slow but steady fucking disintegration of everything towards this, for lack of a better putting it, like evangelical, like fascism.
Oh yeah.
It's hard to watch because I have a lot of people who I consider my friends, who are close friends to me, who live in the U.S. Frankly, not a day goes by that I'm not worrying about their safety.
Yeah, it's pretty hard not to. We had Flint on the show a couple episodes ago, and they're Canadian, so they were. What was it they said? Like, I really like the metaphor of it's like your downstairs neighbors is setting off fireworks in the house.
Yeah.
For our European friends, it's like
watching across the street.
Yeah,
and seeing
someone's
the
burning their
neighbors
own house down,
slowly catching their house on fire.
Not to say that things are perfect around here, but compared to the U.S., I'm kind of bad at keeping up with local news for the most part. But like, one of the scandals we had recently was, I think a former minister, Belgian minister here, got caught doing fraud by mass buying scratch tickets.
What?
Hold on.
Hang on, let's find this story.
Yes, I gotta find this. Oh God. Which one is it again? Again, this is the
Which
problem with
minister
Belgium.
scandal is it?
Yeah, but what's even worse is like Belgium has like essentially 3 different governments, depending on like which like
In an overcoat.
like,
Pretending to be a real government.
Exactly, because it's constantly a mess. No, I have to translate this in my head. Languages are difficult sometimes.
Hang on, is this it? It's the affair that staggering Belgium wrote the daily La Libre Belgique.
I mean, if you can send me the link.
Oh
I'll
yeah,
be able
duh.
to
Why
tell
the
you.
hell would I fucking? I'm just trying to mispronounce words. With a
Didier
European
Reynders?
right there.
Oh my God, how do you
Didier-
say this?
Didier Reynders?
I think that's how you pronounce it, but I'm an
Yes,
American.
it's
so-
I can, judging from the thumbnail alone, I recognize his face.
All
Yeah.
right. Okay.
This is the guy.
Belgian minister for 20 years.
Former leading political scientist and European commissioner is under investigation after suspicious payments were made into his account and thousands of lottery tickets purchased. Bro.
It's
Oh.
clown world.
Wait, what's the scam here? Like,
He was trying to win big.
Like he was trying to launder money by.
He was like, I'm going to
with
win enough
scratchy
money.
lottos?
No, he said, I'm going to win enough money to put the money back. They won't even notice it's gone.
I think that. I mean, maybe that's what the idea was.
No, I'm sure you're right. I'm sure that some kind of money laundering.
It would
thing
have to be,
through this.
right?
Like, I'm sure that's
Yeah.
what.
But
it
I just
actually
want to
is. But
understand
in
the
my head, I have
logistics of
that
it.
gambling. In my head, I have like the gambling addict brain, where it's like he's thinking, "Oh man, I'll take the 50 out the register. I'll do the scratch offs.
Oh.
I'll win 100, and then I'll put the 50 back in the register. They won't even notice, and I still got my 50."
Yeah, because that money he doesn't have to pay tax on it.
Oh. Do you think it's really like, could it be that simple? Like, it's the huge gamble of like, if I buy thousands and thousands of dollars worth of lotto tickets, I'll probably get my money back or close to it, and I won't have to pay taxes on it.
Yeah, I mean, like the article cuts off at the end.
Oh,
But it's
okay.
like winnings obviously though were by 40% on average. Then the amount invested but laundered were then paid into the bank.
Oh, wow.
So that was the idea.
That's
But
the idea.
that's-
That's
Oh,
that's horribly
terrible.
stupid and brilliant at the same time. That feels like we were making Always Sunny jokes already, but that almost sounds like an Always Sunny episode or something, doesn't it?
I feel like it's also a very Belgian thing to do, unfortunately. We're kind of just weird like that.
I think about how like we have conversations in America about the lottery being predatory, and now we've gone whole hog where there's all sorts of online sports betting and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But I didn't realize like is the lotto big over in Belgium, or is that like the thing?
Oh,
Is that the
yeah, because
move?
it's like a government entity basically.
Oh, okay,
It's
so
like-
it's actually similar to what we've got then. Okay,
I'm
cool,
guessing
cool.
the money
Yeah.
funds things, essentially.
Yeah, I think like a part of your or the tax money that we pay goes to that, or in
Goes
some
to
ways
the roads
maybe.
or something.
Don't quote me on that. I'm not exactly sure.
Well, I mean, trust me, I always thought the Georgia lottery was just a scam run by the gas stations. I don't think anyone ever wins. I think they just pump out stories every now and then to be like, oh yeah, they
No,
want it
I
big,
have
keep
some-
buying them.
Well, I've
Yeah.
got some coworkers that are like gambling addicts. Like genuinely, they go play the machine, and so the machines that you're not supposed to be able to win money on, but that
Uh-huh.
sort of thing. And they're always talking about playing their numbers and stuff like that. So and then they'll be like, "Man, I won $400 yesterday," and I'm like, "Yeah, but you're in the hole. Like you're in the hole $2,000 right now, brother. You haven't had a win in a month."
Oh,
It's not worth it. It's not worth
And
it.
then they go, "Oh well, I guess you ain't getting any then." I'm like, "Ah, damn it! Should have kept my mouth shut. I was gonna buy lunch today."
I can't say anything. I love gambling, but I like classy gambling. I feel like scratch offs are I hate to say it like this. I feel like it's too working class for me to be like I can enjoy this. I just feel like I'm getting scammed. At least when I play blackjack, I can convince myself that I got like skills. You can't be good at scratching off a lotto ticket.
Look,
You know
no
what
one-
I mean?
No one comes and brings me a gin and tonic while I'm sitting there doing my scratch off. All right.
Good point. Good point.
You imagine like just imagine the casino kind of setup, but like in a gas station, and it's just people playing Keno.
No. Imagine that scene in the James Bond where it's him and Mads Mikkelsen. And then instead it's like Mr. Bond, and they both just pull out scratch off.
Oh, good. No, I'm glad we got some laughs here.
Here, no. Let's blow this minister's aspirations completely out of the water. Pete Hegseth blew billions on fruit basket stands, chairs, and crab.
Who's billions?
Oh, that's awful. Oh.
Yep, you can count on me. I'm making toilet humor jokes.
That's when you go, I'll be here all week, folks. Tip your server.
Yep.
But no, the Pentagon spent more money in September than it had in any other year since 2008, and a good chunk of the budget wasn't used for anything that could be considered a pertinent military expense. Now, this is something my old man always harped on me about, where he talked about the end of the fiscal year spending of government agencies. You guys will be amazed at how much of our money, your taxpayer dollars, just gets flushed on the dumbest stuff just so they can spend the money. Like, they have to spend it, because if you don't, then you didn't spend some of your budget. You're not going to get that like next year because you don't need it. That's sort of the idea. There's no incentive to go under budget ever. That's a real problem in government spending, at least in the US. I don't know about everywhere else. That's a real issue. But I really love the idea about the Pentagon, who hasn't passed an audit in 12 years? Something like that? Something crazy like that?
Yeah, some wild number like that.
No one knows where the military money is actually going.
I do. Take a guess. I really tell you to take a guess.
But shh, it's a secret.
Scratch offs.
You know what? Let's go with that, actually. That's a better answer.
The problem is they keep putting it where that hole in the wall is, and it just blows out. Oh no, we put our budget next to the big hole in the wall. Shoot, we should really fix that. We could.
not in the budget.
It's not in the budget, exactly. But yeah, so that's one of those things that doesn't surprise me at all that they spend it on. Like, but the idea is like when you hear stuff like that, it really does it really sets the tone of how much they do not give a fuck about you. Hey, all that money that we could have used to have things like a functional social safety net or healthcare or anything that might help the common man, we are going to explode it to kill children. And then also, I'm going to buy a bunch of crab legs. It is the most brazen, like that. The problem is if I just wrote that down in a book, people would say that I was too on the nose. It's like, this is an unbelievably comedic. It's like, this is some kind of Kafka satire. While they're eating crab legs while like a school is getting blown up, and then saying, "Oh man, it's all right. We had to spend the money. Why? Because if we don't, we won't get to spend the money next year." It's insane. It is an insane prospect.
What were the things that they bought that they listed? Because that's the problem, right? Like those are like that means that those are like the ridiculous ones they bought, which means they bought even more like ridiculous incidental shit.
Yeah, well, they'll do stupid shit like it's like literally it could be as simple as like the janitorial department, or it's like, all right, buy like 50 new mops. Like we don't need them. It's like, well, yeah, but you got to spend them. 5.3 for Apple devices such as new iPads. $2 million for Alaskan king crab. 6.9 million worth of lobster tail. Apparently lobster tail's really big in that department. That's great. That's good to know. And to remind, like, the whole point of once again, they're hypocrites and they don't care. These are the same people that made a government, like a Department of Government Efficiency to try to cut all this bad spending. These are the people that said that we were giving too much away in food stamps.
Yeah.
And this is what they're doing with your money, like the taxpayers' money.
I mean, to be fair, that like Doge was like working under the pretense that they were like cutting like redundancies, but like we all know why they really existed, right? It's just to cut quote unquote DEI stuff and
oh yeah. Well, no, not just that. Also, they got access to your Social Security information.
Yeah, and they used it to gut a lot of agencies that do regulatory matters.
Oh, and like foreign aid, that was the other one, the big US aid thing.
Yeah, don't worry. There's lots of things. There's lots of bad things that they did to choose from.
Yeah.
Thank you, Elon Musk and Big Balls.
Yeah. Thank you, Big Balls.
Very much.
We miss you.
Yeah. Okay.
But we can't say anything about Elon. He owns the show. That's the bit, right?
Oh well, there goes all my material.
It's just like the Raven doing jokes card meme. And you're like, it's just says Elon is really fucking stupid. Elon makes really bad decisions. Elon's wife left him.
Do we need some maybe not happy news, but you want some weird news?
Well, hang on. I got one that it ranges into the still bad American news because of the response to it, but like good. But yeah, well, here I'll just read it for you. You guys have heard about Senate hopeful James Tallarico in Texas? Rebel, you might not have.
I've heard about the guy, but I keep mistaking him for the known plagiarist Tommy Tallarico. Because same last name and Tommy and what's the guy's name?
James. Yeah. It's a nondescript white dude name. You could be a Tommy, you could be a James, you could be a Bob. Those are your three generic white guy names.
I'm sure his mother is very proud.
I'm sure. There was a clip posted from a 2022 sermon that they did. He's quoted as saying, "In the Gospel of Thomas, which was omitted from the Bible by church officials, the Gospel of Thomas quotes Jesus as saying, 'When you make the male and female one and the same, when the male is not male and the female is not female, then you will enter the kingdom of God.'" And it had something, he was essentially trying to make some sort of feminist point, I suppose, is the language that they're using about this. Yeah, same sermon, he said, Jesus was a feminist, trying to just make a progressive message while being Christian. Nothing that crazy. But the Gospel of Thomas point is what got me, because that's a Gnostic text.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a odd choice of words, but hey, you know what? You can't say that traditions in Christianity haven't really survived, because boy are the Christians really mad about someone talking about Gnosticism. They're fucking like ancestral programming activated when he said this, and they're just like, no, fucking heretic. Because I have seen so many articles and posts just being like, this is heresy, and explaining why this is a terrible fucking thing, and that you should really not vote for the guy telling you that Jesus was a feminist because he's talking about Gnosticism. So I just felt this had to be brought up, because it's probably the closest we'll get to like actual spookiness that isn't satanic panic in a real headline.
I think there is actually a growing fascination with it. And this is purely anecdotal and just coming from like, I deal with a lot of people that are Christian, and these are people that are now becoming more enamored with the left out bits of the Bible, the parts that the Council of Nicaea was like, put it down.
Yeah, the Apocryphon is coming back in a big way.
Yeah, you hear people talking about like it's like, yeah, me and my whole family are reading through the book of Enoch, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. When it's talking about, hey, you know, the gospel of Peter, the gospel of this, I'm like, yeah, those are all cool stuff. Yeah, hey, you heard of the Nag Hammadi? And they're like, I have no idea what that is. Like, hey, we're not there yet. Don't worry, you'll get there. You'll get there.
And then the plasmate will activate in you.
You knew where I was going. But I do think that there's maybe it has something to do with the death of organized Christianity. As less people are going to church, but a lot of people are still holding on to their Christian belief, I think there is a desire to stretch beyond the confines of what their youth pastor told them. You know?
It's also partly why I have an appreciation and like a fascination with a bunch of the like folk Catholicism and like folk Christianity traditions, like voodoo and Santeria and all those things. It's like,
oh yeah,
the sort of, you know, it's still like mostly Christian, but there's also like the pre-Christian stuff that's like intermingling, and that like creates these really interesting syncretisms that I like.
And then there's just wild stuff like Saint Christopher had a dog head.
First Christian furry.
Oh God! Oh God! No!
God knows there's plenty of those.
But that's that's cool stuff. Now, do you guys want to hear my weird headline?
Yes, please.
Former U.S. Air Force general linked to UFO research goes missing in New Mexico. He's been missing for about 2 weeks now.
Oh God! It was in New Mexico.
Garland Briggs.
Right?
Garland? Judy Garland? Oh, man. That's a season 2 reference for y'all.
Yep. FBI involved in search for, these are two headlines covering the same story, sorry. But FBI is now involved in the search for the missing Air Force general.
Oh, God, it's an Air Force general? What? No, it is Garland Briggs. What the fuck? The FBI is looking for him.
It's Blue Rose. Blue Rose. Oh, my God. We were talking about Twin Peaks. Right before we were recording as well. Oh, my God.
I am the FBI. Wow, that's great.
Retired Air Force Major General William Neal McCasland, 68, left his Albuquerque home on foot at approximately 11 a.m. February 27th and has not been in contact with family or friends since. They said that he had an unspecified medical issue that added urgency to the search. His phone, prescription glasses, and wearable devices were left behind at the house. The investigators believe his hiking boots, wallet, and .38 caliber revolver with a leather holster are missing.
Ah, fuck me.
Yeah,
Uh-oh.
He's in the shit now. Holy fuck, something is going on. You leave your phone and your glasses, but you're taking that fucking gun? Oh man.
That's a weird one. How you're not going to take your glasses with you? Following his retirement, McCasland briefly worked with Blink-182 musician Tom DeLonge, the co-founder of To the Stars, Inc., a company that says it studies information about unidentified aerial phenomena, his wife said. He also showed up in a WikiLeaks, in like one of the WikiLeaks archives, having connections to this. So, and we've known this for a while, that the Air Force has, not only have they propagated certain ideas about little green men and UFOs, but they've also been trying to figure out, because not every time a UFO has shown up have they been able to take credit for it. So, like, I don't know what the chances are of any, because even if there is something really, what I hope it isn't is that he's had some kind of psychotic break and wandered out with his gun.
Yeah, that's.
But also, there's something a little weird about, like, your phone, and he took his wallet and his gun, but he didn't take his glasses or his phone. Something about this doesn't smell right, you know?
Is
and
he
like, how do you,
nearsighted or farsighted, you think?
maybe
That
they're
would be
reading
my
glasses.
answer to tell me how reading glasses? He's probably fine. He's just busy.
Maybe he had a backup pair. Oh man, have you guys ever heard of Drowned God: Conspiracy of the Ages?
I
Yes.
don't think so, but it sounds familiar.
All right, it's a video game. It's like a point-and-click adventure puzzle game made by a man named Harry Horse, and it deals with vast ancient aliens, esoteric conspiracies. I was digging through it earlier today, so I'm just primed to be like, no, man, he's trying to get back to the garden. He's gonna meet the Nephilim.
Oh yeah, this is like 96. Yeah, that's like prime point and click adventure
Oh yeah,
game.
yeah. It's actually a super neat one. You know what? Screw it, listeners. Go look up Drowned God: Conspiracy of the Ages. I don't know if you can play it on your Nintendo Switches or your Steam Decks or whatever. I got a Steam box. And anyway,
It's such a
Got a
stupid joke.
I got a Steam box and a Gamecast. But actually, what you can play it on is Tommy Tellerico's Intellivision Amico. That's what you can play it on now.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, it is on Good Old Games.
Hey.
Oh, hey, there you go.
Or
There
is
you
it? Oh no, there's a vote to bring it to GOG. My bad. It's
Aw.
got 296 votes.
Go vote,
You could
listener.
be the
297
297
votes.
There, you could be the 298th listener. Go. Do God's will. That's a weird story. It honestly, this story makes me think of a bit where they found the mayor of that town in Oregon, and he just disappeared one day, and they found him like 3 years later.
Right, yeah.
It's just weird to think, like, sometimes people can just up and disappear. Although this seems, if he took his wallet and his gun, he was a man on a mission. There's something going on, or somebody wanted to make it look like he just left.
No, because if someone wanted to make it look like he left, they would have taken. Did they say he left his phone and stuff, right?
That's true. That's true.
Or maybe they just know him a lot better than we do. They're like, oh, well, what's his name? McAllister?
McGasland.
Garland Briggs.
Yeah, Garland Briggs. Well, you know Garland. He hated that phone. He never takes it with him. He always forgets.
But I don't know if you've sorry, this is a side tangent, but like the actor who plays Garland Briggs, kind of, if you look at his IMDb and the roles he's played, he just plays military people.
Oh yeah,
all
like
the
that's
time.
all he does.
He was in Stargate.
Was he?
Yeah, he was in Stargate SG what? I know he's in Stargate somewhere. I remember seeing him in like an image. An image. Fuck.
I'm sorry, that got me. I was trying to hold it in. Okay. Oh yeah, like look at it. Look at this. I can't believe it. This is what
Dom
we've
S.
devolved
Davis.
to. Yeah, this is what we've devolved to in the in the news segment, y'all. I'm very sorry, but he's in like G.I. Joe and Stargate and Twin Peaks and X-Files. He's just all he does is play military people.
Sorry, yeah, I have too much Twin Peaks on the brain lately.
It's okay. Because I thought the same thing.
Anyway,
yeah. So, wait, co-host, you got other stuff? Are we moving on from this guy?
No, it's just his wife came out and sort of clarified some of his UFO connections, but your brain runs wild with stuff like this sometimes. Hopefully they find him. It's an odd one, to be sure.
I hope he
It
just
makes-
left his wife, honestly.
inshallah they find him.
Yeah, inshallah.
Inshallah, he will be found.
And that's about the time she walked away from me. Nobody likes you when you're 23. That's what he did. He was singing. Genius. And that's about the time he walked away from me. He took his gun and he left his ID. Yeah. Then he jumped up on a UFO. What the hell is wrong with me?
Okay, you want another goofy headline real quick?
Yeah, sure. We got time.
Exorcists are concerned people are using AI for devil worship. Father Luis Ramirez Almanza. He's running an exorcism training course in Rome in May, and he's giving it a very 2026 theme. He wants clergy and faith leaders thinking about artificial intelligence as a tool that can be used in spiritual warfare. It's not limited to Catholic clergy. He's reporting he's having rabbis, imams, and evangelical pastors. Basically, anybody who is a guy in a weird dress or has a goofy hat, you're welcome to get the exorcism training course. He's promoting it, saying that AI has a great power and it can be a great force for good and evil, and therefore can be used for devil worshipping. That feels like a bit of a stretch.
This is the same fucking shit they were talking about when like zipper pants showed up. They're like, this is great technology. It can be used for good or evil.
God, could you imagine if they combined the AI with the Dungeons and Dragons?
They did. That is a thing.
Oh no. Did Satan come back?
No, not yet. But like in
Not
a
from
couple
that.
hours. Yeah.
It's rendering.
AI. Ugh.
He's warning that the tech can amplify whatever people already want to do, including the darker corners of occult communities online. So, like, this feels like a weird hill to die on here of like, yeah, I guess you could. I mean, there are people that are using AI for all sorts of like woo-woo stuff as we speak. There are people that think they're talking to God. They're getting AI psychosis.
Yeah, not to be that guy, but he said the darker, the darker corners of occult online communities. Is that what he said?
Yeah, I think that's the lamest
AKA Twitter.
subreddit.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say, well, I know that CMN has plenty of AI enthusiasts, so maybe he's got a point, but I don't think we're particularly dark.
I remember when I was at Occulture, there was an entire block of talks, essentially talking about like sort of postmodernism and like the technological side of like chaos magic and such. It wasn't like a unified block, but there was like two people there who were talking about AI in like the occult sphere. One of them being like an AI developer, and she essentially was like doing a counter argument of like, no, AI isn't like sentient. There's not a demon in there. It's just like an algorithm that like preys on your biases to do the things you want it to do. It's not intelligent.
Yeah, it's something that puts words and patterns based on the patterns that have been fed to it previously.
Yeah.
And then you can pick stuff out. Now, don't get me wrong. You can totally do stuff like that the same way like that when you hear people speaking in tongues, you might pick out a word or something that has significance, or seeing some sort of divinatory sign in a random assembly of bones on the ground or something like that. Like, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with approaching something as an oracle, but you do start losing your head when you start thinking that just because something can formulate a sentence at you, that it must be able to think and have ideas and feel.
Mm-hmm.
It's bad territory.
It's like I almost like in these cases I almost see like smaller scale potential like AI model things as like essentially cut up machines.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's an interesting way of putting
sure.
it.
Yeah.
In that sense, I can kind of fuck with it, but it's that's like kind of different to like these AI girlfriend chatbots and like generative AI stuff.
Yeah. I think there's an obvious ethical question about engaging in like the larger generative AI sort of areas. Like, you know, I definitely think you can do plenty of stuff with AI if you're trying to do magic. I mean, again, we interviewed Dave Zilla, who wrote a whole book on it. We're friends with Ali Words, who does plenty of AI generated sort of stuff. They do lots of interesting things with that sort of area.
Jonathan Zapp,
Zapp,
very big on AI tech, singularity, archetype stuff.
Oh, and even Toziel, but
Yeah, I wouldn't go around saying that all these people are motherfuckers. I think these are cool folks. You know, but these are also people that I have talked to them enough that I know that they have a little bit of sense about them, and they're not gonna they won't jump to any conclusions, and they won't throw the baby out with bathwater. It's like they understand that the tool can be used for interesting stuff, and you don't have to start.
You don't have to build Rocco's basilisk.
oh god,
Yeah. And then we're
Yeah.
even talking about but this, I'd also still say that by and large, the ways in which these programs are made is through theft of other people's work, which is horrible. They suck up natural resources at a inequitable rate. They're, these data centers that are popping up, they're going to cause untold damage to the environment. And at a time when we're worrying about how people are going to eat and have clean water, we need to feed a bunch of our clean water to something that's going to make what?
A JPEG of a monkey?
Yeah, JPEG. Yeah, Grok's going to make a JPEG of a monkey. Yeah, there you go. I don't think that I just don't think that we're really using these for what we should be using them for.
but you two look in the chat. I made a monkey while we were sitting here. Isn't he cute? He's so fun.
Oh God, I actually looked.
I was also going to look.
like,
I was
why?
like, wait, I didn't get a Discord thing.
I could have just sent I could have sent y'all anything. That would have been great. You're like, oh, you're thinking it's gonna be a cute monkey, and it's Grok making CP again.
If you needed your dose of satanic panic at the end of this, they say, we believe these groups are using AI to generate images of children involved in satanic rites.
No, that's
Why do you
Grok.
believe
What
that?
are you talking about? that's Elon Musk. You don't need to go to the dark. Well, actually, no. You did say you said Twitter when we were talking about the dark side of the occult online community. So you're right.
It's Mordor.
Well, my problem is, it's like they always go like, oh, satanic rites, and it's like, man, it's like most of the time they're just people that are gross diddlers. You don't need to be a Satanist to be a piece of shit.
Yeah, usually the biggest diddlers are the ones that are cloaking themselves in like being good, nice people.
Yeah,
Upstanding
100%.
citizens.
Good Christian upbringing.
As an answer to the Western Christian viewpoint of AI, I have this one real quick for you. Kyoto University researchers introduce AI-powered Buddharoid to address Japan's aging clergy. Kyoto University made like a humanoid AI robot to engage in Buddhist dialogue because, obviously there's too many older, aging, dying Japanese clergymen.
God.
I don't know how I feel about this at all.
I'm reminded of oh God, when was
If you
this movie?
if you send a priest bot at me, I'm beating it with a hammer. Are you
But Larry
kidding
and
me?
Jihad when?
Yeah.
There's this movie from 2011 called Priest, which is like based on a Korean comic, but it's like this like dystopian future where like it's like this eternal war between mankind and vampires.
Oh, that sounds lit.
There's the main character is played by Paul Bettany, who's like a priest. Like he's like basically like a priest, but also like a super soldier. And like, there's, like, a point-
okay. Yeah.
and there's
yeah,
like a point where he goes to like a confessional booth, but it's like an automated system.
Oh my God.
I'm just reminded of that. It's
Well, so this is just us. It's them priming us for the inevitable forever war with God knows what sort of unholy terrors.
Well, actually, just saying, having grown up Catholic, I can tell you there are plenty of people that would have loved an automated confessional.
Because the priest knew you, and he'd be like, now, why'd you do that, son?
yeah, it does feel like it's priming us for like Warhammer 40k levels of
At least
stuff.
you didn't have to put like a quarter inside of it or something. Gotta scan your card before the robo priest will talk to you.
And now we're right back to indulgences. Time is a flat circle, y'all.
Oh man.
Oh boy.
Okay. Well, I just said I'd break it with a hammer. I'm 2 clicks from Martin Luther. I'm just putting my decrees into the forehead of the robo priest.
No clanker priest.
No clanker priest. That's my first point.
Oh boy. Okay. What else you got? Well, hey, do we want to do the kind of upsetting news first in the occult world, or the kind of hopeful news in the occult world?
Let's do yours first.
Okay. Disclaimers out of the way. I did not get to watch the video we're going to talk about. I have not done a exorbitant amount of research into what people are saying about this. I am simply saying what I have been told and what I have grasped from the goings-ons.
Don't say diddler. Don't say the word diddler and you'll be okay. We learned.
Thelemic content creator Maevius Lynn, a couple days ago, posted a video allegedly detailing instances of abuse within her local OTO body. It was taken down fairly quickly, allegedly because of pressure within the OTO itself. Lots of people within the Thelema sphere are up in arms about it, as, well, why wouldn't they be? This is not the first instance of alleged abuse within the Ordo Templi Orientis. It's not the first body to be accused of it. This is not the first time that people have made allegations and then had them taken down or rescinded them. Overall, I'm not here to just bag on the usual racket of, oh God, the OTO is so fucking garbage. But I feel like we have to talk about this because in a very real way, this sort of thing just keeps happening within the occult world. And more than anything, I feel like if you're someone who has found purpose, meaning, or anything within Thelema in any capacity, whether you're someone that just appreciates Crowley's thoughts or if you read the Book of the Law and it changed your life, just understand that there are people within that world who can somehow miss the point so badly. It just baffles me. I mean, here, because I have it, I will pull it up and I'm just going to read this and y'all tell me what you think.
There once was a man from Nantucket.
Man has the right to think what he will, to speak what he will, to write what he will, to draw, paint, carve, etch, mold, build as he will, to dress as he will. That is, of course, from Liber Oz, the handy-dandy Thelemic Bill of Rights.
Wait, did it say make YouTube videos as he will?
You know what? He didn't. He didn't list that. I guess it's fine.
Oh, man, didn't say that one.
Yeah.
You can't sleep in a bed with sheets.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it just... The fact that this sort of thing happens at all is horrendous. Again, I didn't get to watch the video before it was taken down. I don't know the full range of the accusations. I don't even know if they're credible and being investigated or what. I really don't know. I don't know if Maevius Lynn was told to take it down because of some internal body reason, but regardless, it just seems to be completely at odds with the law of Thelema to make people rescind, censor, delete these sorts of things.
You can't tarnish our image.
Yeah.
You can't tarnish. You're going to make us look bad.
Yeah.
You can't tell people about abuses and bad things that have happened in this group. Otherwise, people aren't going to want to be involved in the group. You know? Congratulations, you're the Catholic Church now. Way to go. And I cannot say for a fact, because this is news to me. The only thing I knew was what you have told. The idea that somebody can come out and saying, hey, there was these abuses were happening, and then that video just disappears and you're told to shut up about it. That doesn't scream confidence. That doesn't inspire anything good, in my opinion. I mean, to just come out and say it's like the OTO as a whole has had enough of these things happen that you'd start to think, well, maybe there's a problem in its entire governing body. And I don't want to ball them out because I know there are some people in the Discord, for example, that are, they're founding members of of their own little OTO charter. I don't think that they're bad people just for being involved in the OTO, but I would like to think that they actually read enough of these holy texts and got enough of that, they got 2 points of their true will or whatever the hell. They got enough XP to get at least enough from their holy guardian angel to tell them, hey, if somebody's coming out about allegations, you don't just tell them to shut up and make it disappear.
Yeah, it just seems, I know you said it just seems completely at odds with the law of liberty in my mind, but what do I know? I'm a dirty coyote.
It's not pronounced chote.
Oh, no, chode. They misspelled the T with a D instead of a D. I saw part of the video, but like halfway because ADHD brain, and like, yeah, just from like my general perspective, like Maevius seems like a very cool and a very devoted person who loves Thelema, and like I don't. It fucking sucks to see this kind of behavior, because like, God damn it,
I know.
It is incredibly frustrating that, like you said, like the people who do that shit are, they go against what the law of Thelema is supposed to be about. But it just goes to that, like, any sort of organizational structure like that is prone to abuse.
Yeah.
And that just sucks.
It always bothers you on a certain level, at least this is my opinion. I think it bothers you on a certain level because you want the spooky woo-woo people. You want the folks talking about, we're out here doing the great work and we're trying to liberate consciousness and all of this stuff. These people that have these high-minded ideas, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you would think that they were better than that. You would like to think that you're better. You'd like to think when it comes to any of these woo-woo groups that these are people that have ultimately good hearts and intentions, and that they've been able to pull themselves up just a little bit from the muck and the mire that plagues most of human behavior. But the problem is that woo-woo people really aren't that different. We're not a special privileged group that's better than everybody. We seem to have, if nothing else, we have new and exciting ways to justify our horrible behavior. And that's what's so depressing about it.
Yeah. I mean, it makes me think of Patrick King, not in that, just in the way that the modern OTO has always been this organization of political infighting and argument amongst themselves. I mean, what group isn't, really, I suppose?
I mean,
but
that's part of the problem, though, is Thelema's been full of that since the beginning.
Yeah, it has, hasn't it?
Kenneth did nothing wrong.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maevius, if you somehow hear this stupid little show, we're sorry. That's a horrible situation. We hope you're doing well.
We're pulling for you. You know what? And next time they tell you to take something down, just send it to us, and we'll just put it up for you. I'll tell you what. I'll post my little cartoon guy face over yours. That way, no one will know it was you.
Jesus. Okay. Now for slightly more hopeful spooky news, I guess.
Well, there's a little bit of a something here. A while back, we talked about Witchcraft TV. I don't want to give them too much advertising because there are some issues with them. Guy involved, like the head honcho, as it were, a man named Harold Sanford Carter. He is also involved with a group called Moon Eclectics in Washington, Georgia, and they were basically subject to a shitty little Christian harassment campaign where they got into some local pastor or whoever got in a tizzy that some witches were in his neck of the woods and they were doing black magic and satanics and stuff and all kinds of, they were an evil coven and I want them out of here. And they basically, he tried everything he could to get them done up on like zoning ordinances and stuff for where their little shop and their little coven stead was. Basically, the county came out and there's like, look, just because they're witches doesn't mean they're like evil Satanists. That's silly. Stop. This is America. You can believe what you want. Now, if they are violating zoning laws, we'll get them. So that's not a great start. But thankfully, and keep in mind, this whole thing started back in like the end of 2024. So I'm sure these people have been dealing with nonsense for a little over a year now. But thankfully, all the charges against them got dismissed. And just one more, especially in a place like the South. You know, the American South is not friendly in a lot of ways to woo-woos. But thankfully they got all the charges dropped. They're good to go, and hopefully that'll be the end of this completely. You know, it's a witch hunt. Hate to if you'll pardon the pun, but that's good. You know, that is a one little bright patch for new Moon Eclectics, that they will be able to go about their business undeterred by what amounts to just people saying, you don't believe what I believe, so I have a problem with you. And hopefully that's the last of that. But that's, you know, stuff like that's nice. It's good to hear things like that, because especially as we're going into this new stage of satanic panic and Christian, like Christo-fascist mentality and all this nonsense where the Christians want to act like they're so oppressed and everything's satanic and there's all these evil people going on. It's, you know, and you hear stories like there was the person in Fort Worth that ran like a metaphysics shop and they got attacked, and somebody saying, thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. You know, you hear a lot of bogus stories and a lot of bad stuff. It's nice to hear for once they said, you know what, hey, I'm sorry, the witches didn't do anything wrong. You got to let them go. You'll have to just mind your own business, I guess. And I know that must drive this pastor crazy.
So many people could use that that advice.
Yeah, it would be
mind your own fucking biznatch.
That's William S. Burroughs. He's talking. It's like one of the biggest problems is people that just don't know how to mind their own fucking business, and it's usually because they don't have any business of their own to mind.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I got nothing but ire for this little youth pastor who thought I say youth pastor like he was out there sitting with his baseball cap turned backwards or whatever.
He took the chair, he walked over there, he sat it down and said, "Hey, let's rap about this."
No, but this pastor,
y'all like Satan, and that's real anti-aura. You know what I'm saying? You need to get riz with Christ.
That's not very 6'7" of you.
It's not very 6'7". You're all about the sixes. Need to get that 6'7". Oh my God, I feel dirty having said that. I blame.
Well, it is episode 67, so.
I was gonna ignore that. I was gonna pretend that because you said that before we were recording. I was gonna ignore it. I was gonna
ignore it, but I was gonna bring it up either way. I was gonna bring it up.
It was inevitable.
I couldn't not bring it up.
Universally, whenever we have guests on, it's because they have something to do with the culture piece. Rebels is kind of a bigger one. We just talked about the issues of occult orders. We've discussed our little corner of the online occult community a good bit, I think. We talked about things that we thought were like red flags within the sort of circles that we inhabit. A lot of crossover there, you know, so there's kind of an unconscious theme that CMN is want to have in this, because we wanted to have Rebel on to discuss their experience really with, well, a familiar little group for those of you who have been in this space for a while, the beloved Donkey Kong Monkey Unit, the DKMU.
Oh yeah, right. That's why I'm here. Fuck. No.
Yeah. So it's how do we even start this talk? I guess.
How would you describe your beginnings with this group?
Oh God, DKMU is kind of the main community where I, started growing up as a magician, if that's the way of putting it. I guess chaos magic. Mostly on the Discord server, but just like the general occulture of the DKMU is where I got my bearings for a lot of stuff. Great bunch overall. I feel like for what I'm about to discuss and like talk about, I'm not here to smear anyone or whatever.
Oh yeah, this isn't a hit piece. No, we're not going to say, and then this person did this and they stole $5.
This isn't about to turn into like saying, oh yes, so and so is a diddler. So
yeah. No, absolutely not.
Yeah,
no.
Nothing like that. But this is, I think this is this is an important thing to do in occultism. I mean, CMN pretty much our bread and butter is kind of criticizing chaos magic. That's, if we have any ideas of our own that aren't just Rat Boy and the hilarity of the Donkey Kong Monkey Unit joke, it's that we look at the occult world, the occult scene, specifically chaos magic, and we've spent a lot of times giving what we think are constructive critiques of it, trying to make it better, trying to do better ourselves. Co-host has been saying this to me a lot lately. When is occultism going to get better? It's going to get better when the people get better. So in our small way at CMN, that's what we've kind of wanted to do. That's what we've done when we talk about our ideas on chaos magic, and it's what we've done when we've built up the little insular community of folks that hang around us, the people we talk to, the people we have in our Discord, and people we have on the show. The networking. But it's an important thing to be able to look at your group, especially when it's something that's a little more. I don't know what the word is, because it's not precisely like, it's not the same as your church group or anything, but occultism is an area of people's lives that is imbued with a lot of meaning, a lot of purpose, and it can very quickly become a bad time telling people things that they don't necessarily want to hear, I guess. Where has it gone for you, I guess, is where I'm leading you.
Well, it all started. No. But, okay, so for context, I still consider myself like part of the DKMU, like the broader marauders, but the place I really kind of distanced myself from was the main Discord place, where like even like in the way in the beginning, the some recurring problems kind of kept showing up, right? Like, for as much as we want to, categorize the DKMU as a non-hierarchical kind of spread out group, quote
collective.
unquote. I don't know how collective, yeah. Like, one of the main things that kind of kept happening is that certain people, for whatever reasons, really kind of started. Oh my god, how I'm trying to phrase this in a way that makes sense.
Building cult of personality around themselves?
Not necessarily building cult of personality, but like kind of like, what's the term? Moderator brain. Moderator brains, I guess, is a way of putting it. And oftentimes that kind of came with like shutting down oysters, or like not maybe kind of belittling them in certain ways. Kind of giving people like certain people getting an air of, oh, I'm running the show, I'm kind of better than you because you're like a newbie who doesn't know.
Yeah, I'm an authority in this space.
Yeah, that kind of culminated in like that person overstepping there to a point where they had to be removed from the group, essentially. That's like kind of happens twice in what I can remember.
Yikes.
So people just like power tripping to the point that it's like, hey, you gotta go.
Yeah, kind of. But I feel like that has more to do with like being a Discord moderator or like a forum moderator more than necessarily, being a part of a church or something. But, it's just like an example of how those power imbalances can kind of poison the community at large.
Even from something very innocuous.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's got a little bit of a leg in a Discord server, so they think they're hot shit or something.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of it kind of just boils down to Discord drama, kind of glorified, which isn't really all that fun. I feel like some of the general DKMU culture kind of took a hit like 2-ish years ago. I mean, like with any sort of occult organizations or like collectives, it's like interpersonal drama and like people spreading rumors and like power tripping, and all that stuff kind of created an atmosphere of hostility in the DKMU. The thing about me is like I don't generally tend to get into like conflicts or arguments or drama like that. I tend to keep a distance because ultimately I don't have skin in the game for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of observing the stuff around me like slowly kind of going to shit, which consider it is like a hard thing to experience. I feel when a group like that, like the DKMU, has been so instrumental in where I am now.
Well, they're an overwhelming influence on contemporary occultism, especially in chaos magic. we in the original DKMU episode that we did, we talked forever about how, they were not even as people that were ever, part of any sort of real infrastructure of the DKMU. Like, I've talked to DKMU people when I was coming up in Magick. But you knew of them, right? Like, they were everybody has seen the Ellis sigil. Everyone.
Yeah.
People don't even know what it actually is have seen it. Many of them because I graffitied it on your house, and now you're coming outside to stop me. But
Gosh darn, my house is full of spiders now. No.
Yeah, but the DKMU God forms is something that gets passed around like candy when you first come up. You find it, and there people tell you, like, oh yeah, man, like they made gods. Check it out. It's an overwhelming influence on the current occult scene. And it's very much in the same way that I see the disintegration of the OTO. Although, the older I get, the more I learn the history. I keep going back to like, well, I guess you are carrying the legacy forward. But for something that was so important to me when I first got into occultism, seeing the sort of very, again, like I said, this sort of stuff it's really important. It's got a lot of meaning. It's got a lot of importance put on it. And to see the way that these people not only don't live up to some idea of what you think this should be, but just falling into the most basic dregs of online human behavior. It's got to be sad. It's got to, hurt you a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't want to prime you here, but just thinking, especially because the DKMU has existed so largely on the internet. Like, I understand that there are people that, there are always people that are doing like meetups and all of these things. But the idea, at least my understanding is, DKMU started up in the online forum era, and it migrated into all this. The idea that it could exist without this sort of, like, you could always make the argument with groups. It's like, well, yeah, if you get outside of like the internet and meet like actual people, they're probably not so bad. Now, we're seeing, we kind of see that isn't true, but that's an argument people could make. But the DKMU in a way is sort of baked into the internet era. So it's hard to imagine it's like, so their main Discord server is bad. You just don't go there. And it's like, well, that's kind of a big hub for them, That's kind of a beating heart of what they are.
That's where the people carrying this current are around.
So if the rot's setting in there, it's going to go everywhere else, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, a lot of people, especially like from the era. Oh God, why am I phrasing it like that? It sounds like Taylor Swift. But like a lot of people from the era I grew up, came up in, have kind of just left the main Discord. It was like side pockets and like chatting to people. That's still always present, but there was like mainly there was like a big sort of blowout. Well, not even a blowout. It was kind of like a
just
huge
an exodus
part. Yeah, an exodus and like falling apart of the main Discord. But like from what I've heard, like the few little bits and pieces of update, like a couple of updates I've been hearing is like that it's kind of calmed down and there's like a lot of new people around now. So, hopefully that will settle things more. But like, I don't know, especially during the period, like I'm bad with like remembering time, but like must be like 2-ish years now. I really started noticing stuff and then I left. There was like a lot of people were very like scattershot, kind of, I hate to say the word navel gazing, but like a lot of what
why we love it here.
Yeah, but like I know a lot of the like experimental magic stuff they were doing felt very navel gazy, and that may be just because I'm not really gelling with certain people's methods, but that's like whatever, that's fine. But it's also, as a collective, that there's like a lot of potential that I felt wasn't really being realized. Mainly in like, there's it's kind of a tradition every once in a while to publish a new Liber LS, sort of like an update to the previous one with like new ideas and stuff. And I mean, a lot of those things some of which I've contributed to, like, haven't really hit the same, I guess. Which, I mean, it's kind of to be expected because the first God form wheel is like so influential and iconic.
Mm-hmm.
It's a system I've really like kind of worked through for the most part, and a lot of the newer God forms haven't really like worked out.
Hit the same way.
Haven't really, yeah, they haven't hit in the same way. It's just kind of sad. Like, sad that it didn't work out, right? But like, well, one idea I kind of presented it. I wrote an open letter kind of putting all of this down. And one of the sort of like positive suggestions I made was to like focus more on like publishing more writings, but like as a collective, as like a focused push to publicize the DKMU even more. Issues I kept running into, not even just me, but anytime anyone had like an idea to like do something as a collective, it kind of the idea got lost in like discussing like hows and whys and like to the point where like criticisms came up and people were like kind of muddying the point to the point where like nothing was getting done, essentially.
Right, yeah, getting blown into the eternal what's the word I'm looking for here? What do you call those dang things where you have like a big focus group of people or something, or everyone's trying to
census?
Yeah,
death by committee.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Death by committee. That's what I was looking for.
Well,
Yeah.
and for the record, I'm going to point out, you're mentioning around 2 years ago, and I think like Liber Ellis Volume 3 was 2023, right? Release date Halloween 2023. I'm looking at it right now. That's the
Yeah.
last thing that's been published, right? That's the last thing that's come out?
I think so, yeah, because like there's some stuff I contributed to that, and then like the publishing of Liber Ellis like Volume 3 was like, oh, this is fun, this is good, we should do more of this, even if it was just like a periodical journal or whatever. I was just spitballing ideas, but it's like
Do something.
There was something
to
that was-
get
there
people
was
involved.
more-
Yeah.
That's going to actually
exactly.
go in a positive direction instead of. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, the term we use is metaphysical speculations is what we mostly talk about.
Mhm.
Because I've spoken to you about your sort of stance on occultism and magical practice. And
Mhm.
I hate to say it, but I feel like I understand why you enjoy our show. Because we are, not just because we can make jokes like, Hank the Minnesotan Muslim. I've mixed all of those bits together. What was it? It was Massachusetts Hank the shaman and his brother Muslim Charlie. That was it.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly.
I remember the bits, folks. I remember the bits. But you have a much more grounded and sort of practical idea of what magic is than a lot of
Yeah.
what I see as the predominant sentiment in occultism. Because
Mhm.
the story you're telling about the DKMU specifically isn't even. It's not unique. It's
No, it's absolutely not unique.
it is what you see in the vast majority of these sorts of spaces.
Mhm.
Even the post last Exodus you were talking about. Like, well, what happened afterwards? Well, it settled down. Some new people came in. That's the story of these sort of groups, whether they're the incredibly organized ones like the OTO, or they're the loose-knit collective of people. If I had a nickel for every little group of spooky people that started in the same way with a lot of promise and a lot of potential, and then slowly devolved into people talking about spooky ideas and making it about themselves, I wouldn't need the $5 in Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that part of it comes down to, well, and again, maybe I'll sort of prime you here a little bit. Do you think that part of the issue is simply the one that groups get too large at a certain point, that they're unwieldy, and then at a certain point groups just sort of become a little complacent as well?
I mean, I feel like both of those kind of played a role in this specific scenario.
And I've heard stuff about like Sufis where they say at a certain point they'll take these like groups that are very successful and like they're getting their stuff together, and they'll break them up and say, all right, everybody go do your own thing now. Like, you go start your own group, because if we sit around here doing what we're doing, we're gonna stagnate and it's gonna fall apart. And sometimes sometimes that's what you need, is that you need groups that are going to splinter off and start doing their own stuff or trying to work their own thing. I mean, Chaos Magic News came out of part of that idea of like, well, if you want something new to happen, if you want to do, if you have to be the change you want to see in the world.
Exactly.
I'm
Because that was like a thing
in the mirror. Sorry.
But that was like definitely actually I did start like something along those lines. Like I had like my own kind of group projects that I kind of started with some friends, which I mean it's kind of dead at the moment, but that's whatever. I've got other stuff going on. Yeah, I mean it happens, right? Like.
Well, like I just said, yeah, if I had a nickel for every group of spooky people that started with a lot of potential and sounded fun and kind of fizzled out, wouldn't need the Patreon money. We think it says something about the issues of trying to bring occult practices together from a large group of people, or is it more of just the typical human problems of large groups?
God, I think it's little bit of both, because the DKMU, for as much as it has like its kind of main, I want to say like main body of work, right? Like the OG stuff. A lot of the people, like especially like a decade after that got published, like on Discord, like all of the people going in and out of that place where they weren't even all like chaos magicians, but chaos magicians have like all they love their like models, right? Like the way magic works, and it's like one does like energetic model, the other one does like egoic spiritual stuff, the other is like quantum physics, and it's like that's cool and all, but like I feel like trying to cram all of that down into something more coherent for the DKMU didn't really that wasn't kind of gonna work, I think.
Yeah, it's understandable because it's sort of a problem you see in chaos magic as well, specifically in like the publishing area. If you there are two types of like chaos magic works that come out now. There's like, hey, here's my chaos magic take on X, witchcraft, paganry. Here's my interesting like quantum mechanics inspired model. Here's my mathematical thing. Here's
Minnesota voodoo.
Right, exactly. Those sorts of things. That's what you get. You get these kind of weird varying practices with a chaos magic perspective. And they sometimes come with very dense theory around them. Or you see like utter ridiculous dog shit collections where it's just stuff that doesn't match itself, it doesn't match each other, and the quality varies from one page to the next, It's because chaos magic itself is such a wide breadth of areas, by definition, you don't get a lot of unified ideas. You don't get a lot of things that really mesh unless it's the work of a singular author on a specific subject to begin with.
Yeah.
That's why even something like, the granddaddy of chaos magic works, Liber Null, right? It's kind of hodgepodge in a lot of ways. It definitely feels like something that you're working through and you're going on a journey here, but it doesn't give you something to hang your hat on. And again, that's probably by design, but because of that, you just necessarily can't get a lot of cohesion for something like, and I guess what you could really call the DKMU, at least in my mind, it's like an occult movement almost, right? There is a large collective of people that are all associated with it. There is, ongoing organized structures putting out published works and such, but it's a stream, it's a current. There's people coming in and coming out all the time, and it makes it hard to maintain itself in the face of such constant shifting. That's why I think that the first Wheel of God forums remains so prevalent as like the main thing. Like if you know anything about the DKMU, it's Ellis, Zalti, the
Doombringer. My boy Doombringer.
Yeah, like these are the things It has a consensus to it. It gives something that people can talk about and work with in a very simple kind of manner.
Because I was thinking back on like the whole. Actually, wait. don't know if I can talk about this.
Oh, you got to keep silent?
Yeah, because I mean, I can tell you to, so cut this out, but
obviously you still have associates within the DKMU that are in you know the particular Discord and stuff, and you still consider yourself very much part of the current of it. But
yeah, absolutely.
how does it affect your work to be so connected to something so much larger than you, and to have to kind of step away from it entirely, or not entirely, or and kind of step away from it a bit, put some distance between yourself and the other people?
In the beginning, I was very angry at certain people, just being like, because when I wrote it like an open letter, kind of detailing all of this, and you know, aside from a couple of good like pieces of feedback, it was very much like people getting angry at me. Well,
You
I
wrote an
wrote it
open
in, like-
letter to somebody criticizing them, and they got mad? No fucking way, kid. I
Yeah,
can't believe it.
I wrote it in third person as well to kind of like this, like hide the fact that it was just me writing it. Yeah, I wanted to build a narrative. I wanted to speak for the people. But yeah, you know, people got angry at me. I was like, okay, you know what? Since this isn't solving anything, I just left that Discord and just kind of did my own thing for a good while. And there were other people who also left. We still keep in touch. The more I removed myself from the Discord, the more I felt at home and more comfortable being, or calling myself a marauder, really, like really being entrenched into, especially like the main, like the first God Wheel stuff. And, you know, kind of going back to, this was like a period where I done all the stuff. I had like a kind of breakthroughs / mental breakdowns.
I love those.
Part of me was kind of going back to like proto chaos magic, like William Burroughs type stuff, and then like looking at the main like original DKMU stuff, and kind of going back to basics with all of it, focusing on those aspects like medium magician stuff. It's like,
right.
I think that kind of runs parallel with a lot of with I guess the like Temple of Psychic Youth ideas, though I'm not sure if they're correlated. They're definitely like cross-pollination.
Oh, definitely.
But you know, I started making like music and stuff, like really focusing on arts and like putting my magical intent into a lot of that.
There's something to be said about that too, of the idea of, like, you know, Chaos Magic News is an extension of like I said, trying to be the change you want to see, where we didn't see people that were doing, like, we're doing content like this, or we didn't see people that were talking about magic the way that we talked about it. We just started doing it.
It's no secret, we've talked about in the Discord before, that a lot of what Chaos Magic News came out of was being in these sort of online occult spaces and really seeing how much of a time waster it is to really involve yourself in them. It's unfortunate to say it like that, because, you know, the formative years of Kennedy doing magic involved a lot of being online and talking to people. I put a lot of importance on the ability to try to like learn from people online, because, you know, fact is, it's not like you can just walk down the street and ask people what they think about you know, how to do a sigil. It's not a common thing. You know, as the previous news story told you, a lot of people don't take kindly to that sort of stuff. So I felt like it was really important to be able to have, you know, to be a part of the community. Same thing with like Thelema. A lot of my formative years of understanding Thelema was just by trying to talk to people, and I've gotten a lot out of that. I've met a lot of really great people that I still, you know, consider my friend from doing that sort of stuff. At a certain point, it becomes far more important to you, I think, to be able to look at yourself and deal with yourself, to say that, you know, I care a lot about magic, but these people don't. These people care about a lot of very simple-minded and goofy things, and I don't have to subject myself to this on the grounds of some sort of obligation, some sort of loyalty to a magical idea or a magical current. I really feel you on the getting more comfortable calling yourself something after stepping away from it more, because I'm like that with Thelema. I'm like that with I feel like once I got away from most of the thelemic circles I was in, and I was never like super enmeshed in them. I just, again, it was the places where I spent my online time and places where I would argue with people and talk about things and feel like I was maybe learning something. But you really develop a sense of shame about calling yourself a Thelemite if you stay in those areas long enough. You really will. And I like I said, I think a lot of it has to do with this idea of when you're around these people, when you identify with them, when you're like, we're all this, and you just see how badly they can live up to it.
Mm-hmm.
It starts to tarnish what is something of value to you, part of who you are in a magical sense. Again, how many horror stories you got to hear about the OTO, or how many times you got to see someone saying the most edgy, cringiest shit about, their will, being like, bro, have you read Nietzsche? That sort of shit. How many times do you have to hear any of that before you just go like, I don't know, maybe this Thelema thing isn't for me. Maybe I need to leave.
Well,
Yeah.
I think at another point too is the idea of starting to realize at a certain point that there are always going to be groups like this that form, and that particularly as groups become like noticeably large, and particularly in online circles where it's well, and especially in online circles where it's very easy to just sort of sit around and like type nonsense and send memes to each other. You start to hone in on who's actually doing stuff, who's doing the experimental work, who's actively engaging with their practice in a way that seems authentic and actually matters, and who's just and I don't mean to be like, oh man, you're so much better than these people, but sometimes there are folks that are just not really about it, and it's like they have magical ideas, they have like a magic aesthetic that they vibe with, and they have this sort of online wizard personality, but they're not doing a whole hell of a lot. That can be very disheartening if you take these groups as this is what we're actually doing, this is what everybody's about. And it can become a lot more fulfilling to just focus in on, like you said, you started learning how to make music, and I've seen your art, and I think like your art is fantastic. Just not to blow smoke up your ass, but you're a talent. You're a talented individual, and the ways that your magical practice comes out in that work is noticeable, and it's a cool thing. Even pointing to what you're talking about of like with your open letter of the idea of like, well, why aren't we getting more stuff out there? Why aren't we publishing more? Why aren't we doing things that might actually further the current, and then getting kind of shit back for it, of the idea of like, oh man, this person actually wants us to do things, can be a bit of a bummer. And I don't want this to smear people. We're not trying to do this going, oh, DKMU is chopped, it's all a bunch of
it's cooked, fam.
It's cooked, fam. It's straight Ohio in there. That's not what we're saying. But you're saying from your own personal experience of seeing the place where you sort of came up in your sort of your magical identity, and you've seen it degrade over the years, and to the point that you felt like you needed to step away. And I do think about it in terms of there are some people in the DKMU that are like old heads. These are people that were there when things really got off the ground. And you do have to wonder to an extent. I understand that there isn't a formalized hierarchy, but you do have to wonder of like, do the old guard have a certain responsibility to keep things moving, or if things are stagnating, maybe look at themselves and be like, do I need to step out of the way? Is there something we're doing?
The thing with the old heads, actually we have a different term for them, but that's not PG.
Just say
it's a term.
Listen,
No, it's a term of endearment, to be clear. But no, but like the thing with a lot of the old guard is that like, I mean, there's still a couple around. Like Argel is still around, but there's like a couple who kind of like burnt out. Some kind of went bad, you know. But like it does, like even the I guess like the old heads when I was like starting kind of like fell away because of different things, right? Or like some of them, like I said, got moderator brains and had to be removed because they kept doing shit. I do feel that if the old guard, this whole god, where we in like a fantasy land. But you know, I do think that the old guard has like responsibility, like to both like take care of the currents and also like, you know, pass the torch when they know they're not up for it anymore. And like I've seen others do that, but it's always like a mixed bag of, will this person go crazy, go insane, or will they be chill? You know.
Oh yeah.
I think that's kind of the thing with all groups and people.
We keep coming back to the fundamental issue that occultism isn't special. It's not any different than any other sort of pursuit, really. You know, it's a very sad thing to say. Like, it doesn't make you feel good to look at these people that will tell you about the absolute metaphysical insanity that they've experienced, will tell you about the power of all sorts of wide-eyed craziness that you could never possibly imagine, and be like, you know what? They're not really that different than the moderator over on the trains and infrared sensing headsets Reddit page, you know? It's not really any different. They're just kind of people that have very peculiar interest, and they communicate online, and they do what people tend to do in those spaces. There's the ones that lose their mind a little bit. There's the ones that have to get removed, and ultimately it's the best you can hope for is that you're going to find a really cool picture of a train set, or someone's going to explain how they fix their track problem. This is an analogy.
The analogy is autism. I'm autistic. I can make jokes about being autism. Being autism.
God,
I am autism.
See, my brain went to like the Lightning McQueen meme. It's just, you know, I am speed, but it's I am autism.
True.
Listener, if you were imagining Lightning McQueen with like a autism awareness puzzle motif, you're spot on. That's what I was going for. Well, I have one more follow-up question for you, just because I'm curious. I mean, you said you kind of like started your own thing that sort of fizzled out. Not to rub salt in the wound or anything on it, I guess, but has it soured you on the idea of like group work within a Magick setting?
Well, not really. I think part of the problem with that project, it was that just like time zones are a problem, and like people are busy, and you know, writing a whole like a written project like we were trying to do takes a lot of time and effort that, considering the current circumstances of the world, we didn't really, you know, have the time for.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Putting out this show twice a month is a lot sometimes, given the state of the world, and not just because I have to subject myself to the bitter pill of the news to keep up with it. I say that mostly because, and you know, we've talked about this before. Co-host and I don't do a whole lot of like work together, but we've always had the option because we've both been doing Magick pretty much at the same time in our lives.
Yeah. Not everybody has a Dharma brother in this, you know. And it doesn't matter what I'm working on or what I've got going. If I needed somebody to either tell me I'm crazy or say this isn't good, or even like, hey, I think maybe this is the direction you should go, I've got somebody. He's a phone call away, and he's, you know, it's if my phone rings and it's Kennedy on the other line, I'm picking up. You know, it's like, you know, we're very dedicated to each other in that, and not everybody has that.
Well, yeah, and not only that too, but even the sense of like, if I came to you and was like, hey, I wrote this ritual, or I have this working, but I need another person to do it, you're gonna do it too. And
we're gonna move the couches. We're gonna set the tables around, and great, hell yeah, like say less.
We're very spoiled in that way.
Yeah, I think what having somebody to like ground you, but also like complement your spooky woo-woo stuff is like so helpful. It is something that, like you said, like not everyone has access to, which is a shame.
Yeah.
But it's like having that network, yeah.
But that's why groups like this are so tantalizing too, because you want that. You want to find, and even better, it's the idea of like, oh, it's not just one person. I can have like this whole group of people that are still bout it like I am, and often that can be a little disappointing, or it doesn't work out like that, you know.
Or it can be intoxicating as well.
Right, it's true.
It's like yes men all the time. That's also not a very healthy thing to have in like groups like this.
Yeah, it's having a yes man in Magic is not a good thing in general, I don't think.
Yeah.
Again, sometimes you need someone that's going to tell you, like we said in the last episode, like, nope, you need to go to sleep is what you need to do. I know you think you figured it out, but you need a nap.
Need to take a shower and get some rest. Maybe eat some actual food, you know, that sort of thing.
You're living off astral energy, I see.
It's like that meme of the guy like get out of my way. I'm breaking through the walls of ordinary reality, and then it's like hospital. You're just dehydrated.
I would really just I think I'd ask Reb, just from your firsthand experience with this group over a long period of time, is if for anybody who might be like a DKMU person who's hearing this and is like just either pissed off or just feels like we're not giving them a fair shake or something, if you had something that you could say to these people right now, what would you want to tell them?
Look, I'm just sharing my perspective. And I do tend to try and be very fair and balanced in my assessments and stuff. But I'm also, one of the first people who will try and ground things, especially when I feel like things are kind of going out of control. And stuff did kind of go out of control sometimes. And if you're mad at me, fucking suck it up. I don't know. Don't want to be mean. I don't like being mean, but like, No,
I'm not asking you to like dog anybody. That's not what I'm asking. But
I am.
I know. But like,
call them all the names you can think of right now.
One of my faults is that I tend to like be like I even if what I say isn't necessarily mean spirited or is like generally just blunt advice or like just telling it how it is, quote unquote. I do feel like I'm overly like not self-censoring, but like I don't want to sound mean,
Yeah. Well, hang on. Now, we're gonna work on this. Rebel, call co-host something awful.
Something awful. The website.
Oh no, if we're going that way, it should have been E-Bombs World.
What?
You know E-Bombs World?
Never mind.
I'm not familiar.
We've lost our Yiddish cup.
Well, now it's time for the palate cleanser of the show. How goes the work? Rebel, as is tradition, you are the guest, so we'll ask you first. How goes the work?
It's been going, I would say. Like I've kind of been saying throughout this episode, I do put a lot of my magical workings into my art. Like mainly like, I do like ambient industrial music. I draw, I paint, I sculpt, I do all kinds of things, really.
I didn't know you sculpted.
Well, yeah, like I have like I should show you later, but I have a little clay figurine I call homunculus that I keep in a cage.
That is badass.
Yeah, he's in a little bird cage. He's got like his little bone he's gnawing on.
That is so badass. Send us a picture of that for the episode. That's going to be in the episode art.
I will.
Oh God, yes. You pretty recently put out another album EP. I'm not really sure the length of it now that I think about it.
More like an EP, yeah, like short little project.
It was really good. I loved it.
Oh hell yeah! I have a lot of fun doing music. For the longest time, I felt kind of intimidated doing that sort of arts, like music and sound stuff. This was like back when I first got my new PC. I bought myself like a USB keyboard, downloaded like a DAW and like VSTs, and it's just like, okay, let's just fuck around and see what I can come up with. Ever since I've been doing little projects that are in themselves also like magical workings, really. Like there's like themed around certain things.
Do you feel it's helpful to anchor your magical workings to something tangible like that?
That's actually a good question. I don't think I've ever really thought about it like that.
It's really interesting to me because co-host and I are both musicians of various ilks, right? But I have done very little magical work via music, really. I've done a lot of like odd sound stuff occasionally, and in parallel, I got into radionics for a little while, and that kind of touched into the weird areas that I normally am doing like sound stuff with. So, but that's close. I've never thought of like making a piece. Well, it's not that I've never thought of it. I've never sat down and worked on like a full music project with the intention of it being like a magical working of some kind.
That's not true. We did a hyper sigil. Never mind.
Well, I don't know if that was fully intentional. It definitely was a hyper sigil, but I don't know if it was intentional. We might have Dave Simmed ourselves there.
This forbidden early CMN hyper sigil album that no one will ever get to hear.
I was gonna say, what was the thing that made you go like, oh, what's a great medium for doing magic is make a banger album, 5 tracks. All killer, no filler.
The sort of main thing that pushed me to like finally like work on music was listening to Ethel Cain's Perverts, which is like a really like just kind of like a dark ambient album. And I was like, oh, okay, I can fuck with this. Because like as an artist, I always try to I have this urge to put like texture or like a feeling onto paper or like a canvas or like a piece of art, right? But like I've often found that it kind of, for me at least, falls short of being able to deliver that sensation, that atmosphere that I can like very easily put into like music and like ambient tracks. It's the use of sounds and samples and recordings, that kind of, the layering of bass and like weird synthesizers and the recordings of like crows cackling. It's these like little, almost I would almost call it like a little sigils, like little like textural like symbolic elements that mingle into one like track or one album together into like a circuit almost, I would call it.
But using those aesthetics and those sounds as a way of inducing a certain overall sort of symbolic relation that the listener can actually get a feel for when they hear this.
It's like that transmission of that vibe, of that idea, that intent.
Tapping into those subtle, energetic, psychological
whatevers.
Yeah, it's but I mean, and back sort of to the last episode we put out where we were talking about poetry. It's like the way in which art can induce certain changes in the listener through without pointing. Because if you were trying to say, "Hey, I'm trying to cultivate an atmosphere of decay and foreboding," if you just say that, people go, "Okay, sure, I don't feel it." But when you add all these elements, then it's like, "Oh, okay, I don't have to spell it out. You'll feel it. You'll get the vibe." And in that way, that can open a door to a kind of magical transmission. Can I ask you one more thing to circle back to the DKMU real quick, just because I'm thinking about it?
Yeah, sure.
If one of your critiques was that the DKMU doesn't seem to be engaged in actually putting stuff out there and things that might, in a way, spread the current, it does sort of make sense that you ended up in this area of like, well, now I'm producing art, now I'm making music, I'm making something that can sort of become a tangible element of this magical process. It feels like it's it feels like a pretty obvious progression in a way, and almost like Hate to say it,
Yeah.
like if you went back to some of these people, it's like, you guys ever thought about just making an album? Like, what if we put out the DKMU work? Like,
Yeah.
just make some Ellis bangers. I'd say in the same way that like the Lieber Ellis stuff kind of represents a collective effort of like, these are all things that we have been working on, and they're now coming to fruition. Not like we were doing magic to make these, like, the essays that are written or the poems or the art or stuff like, but at least in that way, these various volumes kind of represent in a tangible way, this is the work that we've been doing, and this is sort of how you can see the end product of it. In a way, it seems like maybe that isn't such a crazy idea. By having these things that you can anchor your work to, of like, well, this came out, and this, and this is out there now that people can sort of catch the vibe with. There may be something to that idea of finding a way in which your work can, and I hate to say it, like, become a product, but become something physical or something that you're able to engage with, that might, in a way, be something that pushes people to actually branch out and continue that process. I don't know if what I said made any sense.
I think I think I understood what you meant. It's because the thing I was going to mention is that, like, the DKMU is filled with like incredibly talented, creative people who like paint and do art and like make music. And the thing about that is, like, a lot of those efforts were like very much their own thing, instead of like aside from Lieber Ellis 3, or like just Lieber Ellis in general. That creativity is kind of just relegated to its own devices and what the people do for themselves, I guess.
Just these little self-contained things.
Yeah, and I felt like a lot of that, this creative energy that's in the DKMU could have been very like channeled forward in something a bit more focused, I guess.
Yeah.
No, totally understand. Co-host, how goes the work?
Ramadan is about a week from finishing. I've been hitting this one pretty hard. It's sort of like when Chaturthi comes around. That's the one thing I can say about this that's been very cool, is that it does sort of hit that same vibe as when we celebrate Chaturthi. The idea of sort of dropping a lot of what you're doing and focusing on one thing. I have found some interesting connective tissue in a couple things, and just some synchronicities that have happened just from conversations that have been going on and things like that have pushed me back towards the work of Michael Bertio, which is always kind of fun. It might be hinting at where I'm going to go when all of this is said and done. It's been very fulfilling to just pare down and sort of focus in on one thing, but I can see the stuff on the fringes and just under the surface of like what's trying to make itself known before the rest, once Ramadan's over, it'll be like, all right, well, gotta do something else. So we'll see where that goes from there. It might end up being some real Minnesota voodoo territory again. What about you?
Yeah. It's funny how that works, right? Oftentimes I find while completing larger magical workings, the seeds for what's coming next always kind of trickles out. I won't go into too much on it because I don't really have a whole lot to say, but I'm kind of doing something magically that I haven't really done a whole lot. I'm kind of looking into my heritage and seeing the traditions of my people, as it were, and trying to learn more about that. I've mentioned on the show a handful of times, and people still don't believe me. So, I'm part Puerto Rican. It's a part of my heritage that I'm really like disconnected from because I'm raised by white people, and I didn't even know I was Puerto Rican until like I was old enough to know what that meant. I don't speak Spanish, obviously. Well, not un poquito, but but sorry, I can't believe I said that. Gracias. Anyway,
Saying gracias to the Chinese restaurant.
Yeah, but it's so I've just been looking into that, specifically Spiritismo, if you guys know what that is. Yeah, it's interesting because I know it's got its origins in Spiritism, and I know very little about it, and I was never particularly interested in it. From what I gathered, a lot of it was built around mediumship, and that's just not something that I was ever super into. But
You know who was super into it?
Michael Berdio.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. As sort of the preliminary for trying to get more involved in that, I've been looking at like the origins where Spiritism kind of comes into Latin America and becomes an influence in the 19th century, and kind of working my way towards hopefully what's going to be learning magic that I have like an ethnic connection to in a way. It's such a weird thing to say too, because usually when you hear people talking about like their ethnic magic, it's like a dog whistle for fucking being a Nazi.
Ice magic.
Yeah, it's ice magic shit, It's like, your name's Kennedy, your ethnic magic is a corned beef hash. Like, I don't know. But
you just got to get you a cudgel and
get a shillelagh.
Yeah, it's almost St. Patrick's Day, so you'll be able to revel in your other ethnic heritage.
They're not even Irish.
Oh yeah, that is pretty soon, huh?
Yeah, it's coming up. And the only other thing I'm doing is I'm preparing for equinox, because Ramadan ends for everyone else the day before equinox, and me, because I had a cheat day, I have to go one extra day. So Ramadan will end for me on equinox, and yeah, so I feel like it's gonna be a good time. And I always go all out on equinox, especially spring equinox. It's the big holiday. It's the one you got to do.
The supreme ritual is nigh.
Yeah, supreme ritual is nigh, and having a lot of other fun stuff that I always do. I always just try to get real into the seasons. Everyone knows I'm a big fan of the sort of Charles Taylor called it sacred time in his book A Secular Age, but getting in touch with that sense of time that isn't connected to clock time, that isn't connected to calendar years, very much in a way that the example he used was, in a very real way, we are closer to the resurrection of Christ at Easter than we are any other day of the year, regardless of how far forward we move in time. And it's a lot of that sort of stuff. It's I guess in the same sort of motivator that would get me to think about my heritage in a way, I always think about how these periods of the year were something that were celebrated by humankind for ever. Try to get close to that sort of feeling, I guess. So that's what I'm doing.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff. With that,
this has been Chaos Magic News,
the only podcast that is going to be starring new characters. Oh God, Massachusetts Hank and Muslim Charlie, starting next week.
Amen.
If you too would like to know what happened to Johnny Francis, you could probably find out at chaosmagicnews.com, where you'll find links to the pod, the occasional article, links to our interview series, and all that good stuff. We're also on social media at Chaos Magic News on Instagram and Facebook. We're at CMN Pod on Blue Sky. We post spicy memes and much of the other things, links to the pods, let you know when stuff's coming out. If you'd like to come rub elbows with us or people like Rebel, you can find us at the Chaos Magic News Discord. And if you have liked what you've heard and want to support the objectively best occult podcast on the net today, we do have a Patreon where for $5 a month you can show us some love, and you'll also get access to our lovely Patreon bonus content. Stuff like readings of like different grimoires and occult icebergs, and we do watch-alongs of like old Satanic Panic videos, stuff, just little goofy laid back stuff. And not only that, but you'll get your name read right here.
Thank you, Liz, I guess. Thank you, Cios93. Thank you, Pope Loki Satyr the 23rd, LLC. Thank you, Supremely. Thank you, Alexander. Thank you, Acolyte 1 of the Ice Magic Meditation Society. Thank you, Cursed T. Thank you, Fyodor Krasny. Thank you, Venus Christ. Thank you, Tent Athena. Thank you, Bearded Vegan. Thank you, Tremov. Thank you, Tangy Darling. Thank you, DD Destruction. Thank you, Toziel Obscurus. Thank you, Lavender Ghost. Thank you, Tommy Kelly. Thank you, Clodius. Thank you, Cyrenix Flux. Thank you, Eric the Wizard. Thank you, Marcio Mendoza. Thank you, Archaic. Thank you, Sneaky Llama. Thank you, Melius. Thank you, Coffin Emoji, Sparkle Emoji. Thank you, Eli Cash. Thank you, Mother Hysteria. Thank you, Rowan of Birch Groves. Thank you, me. Thank you, Inko. Thank you, the Frog from Chrono Trigger. Thank you, Eamon Knox. Thank you, Betty Adeline. Thank you, Lapzod. Thank you, Flint Dibble. Thank you, Tara. Thank you, Helicon. Thank you, Timo Sidon. Thank you, Endocrine Bandit. Thank you, Ayatollah APG93. Thank you, Armel. Thank you, Salab. And thank you, J. Eric Murphy. Rebel, I have a confession to make. We don't read the names live every episode. We edit them in.
I knew, but somewhere I was like expecting to hear the French national anthem. Actually, you know what would be a good bit for this episode is instead
Turn
of
to
French.
the Belgium national anthem.
Yes.
Yes, I
That
will.
would be-
Yes,
that would
I
be
will do
pretty
it for
funny.
you. I will do it
The
for
And then
you.
the sound and the sounds of a scratching of a lotto ticket.
Oh my lord.
But that
Amazing.
list is getting longer all the time, and it's kind of absurd to us as the show is growing and growing, and people just keep lining up to give us some support. It's really amazing. You guys are the best.
Yeah, we fucking love you.
And
These
don't
guys are
worry,
great. Give them your
only
money.
some of the money is going to scratch off lotto tickets. A
But
very
if we win
small
big,
amount.
no more show. I'm kidding.
No,
if we
no,
win
no.
big, we're gonna give everyone their Patreon money back. That's how it works.
See,
you,
if-
you give them the money
See-
back, you put it back in the register.
I'm going to take the Patreon money, buy a bunch of lotto tickets. I'll win big. I'll put the Patreon money back.
Don't have to pay tax on it.
And you don't have to pay tax on it.
I don't pay taxes on the Patreon money anyway.
IRS
Uh-oh.
just jumps out from the...
I don't care who the IRS sends. I am not paying my taxes.
Oh,
man,
God.
okay.
Rebel, it has been wonderful to have you on. Thanks for sitting down and yakking with us. This has been a real fun time.
Oh, this has been a
And
pleasure.
please tell everybody where they can find you.
Belgium.
I mean, no, please don't come find me. I have stalkers.
Oh, geez, I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine. I haven't heard from him in ages. Maybe,
That's too
maybe
late.
I've
They
just
know you're
jinxed
in.
myself.
They know you're in Belgium now.
Yeah,
Start at one side of the
Um,
border and work over.
yeah. You'll never find me. I don't go outside. I guess you can find me on like Blue Sky at RebelSandpaper. I also am on Bandcamp as Divine Flesh Machine, where I put my music, as well as on YouTube.
Banger name, by the way.
Yeah, I'm proud of that one.
It's a good.
And if you're on the Discord, you will see me around sometimes, I suppose. I'm an elusive creature.
You are, but it's always a joy when you come out and talk to us.
Yeah. It's
That's
fun.
why, that's the thing that I look forward to whenever we're doing watch parties and stuff in the Discord is 9 times out of 10, Rebel shows up and I'm like, finally, at least I have one person that I can talk to. I'm kidding. I love all of you. You know that. So I guess that's it. Rebel, would you like the last word?
Okay. From nothingness I travel forth and conjure myself, a headless god born from the abyssal principle, with sight in my feet and possessing the immortal fire. I am the spirit without essence, the daemon most holy and impure. I inhabit the spaces between underworld and wasteland. I exist in the times between annihilation and desolation. Under this skin a swarm of demons, a book of dead things. I serve no cause but what I decide to make my own. All of what I conjure forth is guided by love.
God damn, that is the most brutal last word we've had. Shit. Y'all need to step your game up. Holy shit.
Thank you so much for listening, everyone.
We will see you next time.
Bye-bye.
6, 7.
Do you have a name this week? Because you're not going to be Jim Jeffries.
Jeff Jimries.
No! Think of something.
No, it's Jeff, but G with a G.
Jeff with a G.
Jeff.
I am Muslim Day. Anyone done that one yet? It's like Christian Day.
Oh,
except he's
God.
Muslim.
I thought it was a reference to Charlie Day, but
Yeah, that's so weird. That's what I thought too.
yeah.
Like, I don't get the joke. What does Charlie have to do with Muslim? And then I was like, is it the Je suis Charlie or whatever, the I stand with Charlie shit from years ago? No one's going to think that. They're going to think it's a Charlie Kirk reference. You're going to be fucked.
You know, let's split the difference. I'm Muslim Charlie this week.
Exciting new character for CM. What was the character you made the other day? What the fuck was this?
I don't
shit?
even remember.
It was just the joke of like, man, we don't do characters on the show like we used to. So Johnny Francis will come back one day. Johnny Francis will come back.
The return of Johnny Francis.
This has got to be the right time.
It'll be in 25 years. Like Twin
I'll
Peaks.
see you in 25. I'll see you in 25 years.
Meanwhile,
But you're gonna have to find me. That's your job.
yeah, that's the excuse why he hasn't come back. He's lost in the Black Lodge.
Hi, it's me. Bones only. The real Johnny Francis and me are in the Black Lodge.